Welcome to a conversation with a community leader. My name is Cary Bozeman, and I'm your host, and I'm the former mayor of the city of Bremerton, and I'm currently a Port of Bremerton commissioner. And my guests today are from one of the organizations that I have the most admiration for in this county is the Kitsap Humane Society. And we have two wonderful guests today. First, I'll introduce Eric Stevens, who is a dear friend of mine and has been with the organization
10 years.
10 years now, and was the executive director, and we'll talk about what you're doing now. But the Humane Society has a new director, and you are Lee Harper. Welcome to the community, Lee.
Thank you.
Can you tell a little bit about your background and what brought you to Kitsap County besides this job?
Sure. Yeah, I was an executive director at the Finney Neighborhood Association in North Seattle for over 10 years.
What do they do?
So it's a community center, farmers market, senior center, education, childcare, lots of different things serving Northwest Seattle. And along the way, I got my master's in nonprofit leadership and very interested in all things nonprofit. And I also started on the side doing some canine education. So I took some classes and started teaching, working with people, especially people who had kind of adolescent dogs who pulled a lot on their leash.
Did you have animals yourself?
I did. I've always had animals. I had a rescue dog from Yakima, and then we raised 2 service dogs for an organization. And we still have one of them. He flunked out and came home, and went to college and came back. So we have him, and yeah.
So you had not worked for Humane Society before, but you have this love of animals, and you thought, well, that might make sense. So you interviewed, and I will say it's a big job. I'm sure they had a lot of people interview, and you must be pretty darn sharp to get the job. So. Good to have you here with me today.
Thank
you. Eric was executive director for many years.
9 years.
And I was on the board.
Right.
And now Eric has stepped down and what are you doing now?
I'm the capital campaign director. We had started a capital campaign back in 2017. We built a new pet adoption center, opened that in 2019, and then we have another phase that we're going into.
Okay. So phase 1, pet adoption center. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
How much you raised? What did it do? Are you happy with the results?
Oh yeah, it transformed our services. It transformed and improved.
This is where the place where all the animals are
housed, and where people come and adopt.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have a place that provided much better housing for the animals. It was really poor before. Before, it was like an old dog pound, right?
Yeah.
So this really modernized it, made it a much more progressive shelter. And it's also a beautiful place for the community to come and look for pets.
What'd you raise to build it?
It was about $6.5 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. I know spade neuter is a big part of what the services that Humane Society offers. What is spade neuter?
Spade neuter is sterilization for pets. So prevents little puppies and kittens from coming into the world.
Who might not get care and might be out running around the street and all that kind of thing and suffering and all that. So speaking of taking care of animals, my favorite doctor in town is named Dr. Jen at the Humane Society. And Eric, you are in the midst of building Dr. Jen, a new facility. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a very small, outdated, crowded, overcrowded veterinary space right now.
I can testify to that. I've been in that room many times.
It's not adequate at all to even serve the animals that come into the shelter, let alone now expanding our services to better serve the public. And the new veterinary center then will include a public-facing clinic that will provide reduced fee or low-cost veterinary care to families who qualify based on the income guidelines that the state puts out, so low-income families. And that's really important because so many families have pets these days, and then if their pet gets injured or sick, Of course, we want to provide that care. We love our pets. We want to rush them to the vet and get what they need. But if a family is faced with a $800 or $1,500 or $3,000 procedure that they can't afford, they're devastated. And the veterinarians in our community have told us they want us to be there for that reason, so that we can pick up the pieces. We can provide that care that they're not always able to provide just because of finances for families.
Well, I can't imagine how it would be so emotional on someone that was attached to their animal, which most people are, and the animal got sick and you couldn't afford care for the animal. That would be gut-wrenching for most people. So I think this is a fantastic service that you're offering.
And we've been trying to see this happen for years, but there was a law in the state that prevented that. And then Dr. Jen and others several years ago were lobbying the legislature. Senator Christine Rolfes from our Kitsap County was one of the sponsors of the new legislation, and it passed in the Senate by a unanimous vote, just speaking to the importance of being able to provide that care.
Yeah. Probably the opposition to that might have come out of the veterinarian people who were a little concerned about competition and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think historically that's the case, but I think they've come to realize that we're not going to be competing. We're going to help families and pets get the care that they need that they just can't get right now. And our goal is not to compete.
I know on a personal basis, our old cat got sick, and we were trying to find out what was wrong with it and kept taking it to the vet. And I think $2,000 before we ended up figuring it out.
Yeah.
So, most people can't do that. So you're building a brand new kind of a medical center.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to
How big, how much?
Veterinary Life-Saving Center.
Okay.
6,500 square feet. It's going to be over...
Which is double what you have now?
More than triple.
More than triple.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's going to include, all the latest equipment, X-ray, ultrasound, all the things that are, a good veterinary
Are all
team.
those things in the capital campaign budget?
Yes. So we're trying to raise privately a little bit over $8 million, and we've raised $7.1 million so far. So
is there government money for a capital project like this?
We have received 2 grants from the state capital budget.
Oh, great.
Totaling $750,000. It's huge.
That is big.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Thank you.
Eric.
Thank you.
You're within $1 million of your goal, right?
Right. And one of our generous donors has just put up a $200,000 matching gift. So any gift that comes in the near future will be doubled, essentially. Yeah.
How can people help on this campaign, Eric?
Well, we need another $1 million in donations. So if someone is interested in making a donation, we'd love to talk to them. As I mentioned, we have a $200,000 matching gift right now, so that donation will be matched. I think just talk it up. We want everybody in the community to be excited about this project.
So if the funding goes well, what's the schedule, and when will you, Dr. Jen, get in her new building?
So she will hopefully be in her new building in October of 2023.
October 2023.
Yep,
we are a little over a year.
A little over a year. We're waiting for our permits from Kitsap County, and as soon as we get those, we'll be inviting you out for the groundbreaking.
I will be there. I was at the last one too. I want to go into a couple other things. The Kitsap Humane Society has been known as a non-kill humane society. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure.
What is that about?
So that's a term that we try not to use because it's a little bit outdated, and it also just brings a connotation we don't like. So here's what we do. Our live release rate, that means how many animals leave the building, is about 97%.
So in the old days of Humane Society, let's face it, a lot of them just put the animals away because they couldn't find someone to take care of them, and
they ran out of space.
So they ran out of space, and you don't do that.
We don't do that, and I don't think any shelters in Washington are euthanizing for space, which is fantastic. There still are shelters around the country that when they get really, really full, they are euthanizing animals. So part of what we try to do is bring animals in through our Rescue Me transfer program. And
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking animals from other humane societies,
Yep.
right? Because
We
they
take-
would, if you didn't, they would be put away.
Yeah, we just yesterday got in, I think, 14 puppies and a litter of kittens from another shelter. We work a lot with shelters in Texas, California, and Hawaii,
Wow.
as well as some in-state shelters.
Well, that's something to be proud of.
So it's pretty cool. Last year we had 1,000 animals come from other parts of the country, including Guam.
How many animals during the course of the year do you take in and get and adopt?
Yeah, we take in about 4,000 animals each year, and about 500 of those are stray animals that end up getting returned to their families. Not all strays, their families don't come forward, but that's a huge number of families we can reconnect.
And you also have a service the Humane Society does. If someone sees a stray dog running around, they can call the
Yep.
Humane Society, right?
Yeah, so if you have a stray animal, you can call us. You can drop it off any day, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We won't turn any stray animals away unless it's wildlife, and then we send them to West Sound Wildlife on Bainbridge Island. So,
I think I saw a horse out at the Humane Society one time.
yeah, we had a horse right before I started last year. So.
Humane Societies dependent a lot on volunteers, right? What do they do? How many do you need? How do you get to be a volunteer? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so this year alone, I think we have about 130 new volunteers. We're in the middle of a volunteer kind of the grand volunteer plan, and it's really looking at what did we have pre-COVID and what do we need now and how do we grow that. So we have volunteers in every part of the organization, whether it's in surgery with Dr. Jen and her team, or doing data entry, working with animal control, walking dogs, socializing cats. So lots and lots of volunteers.
A lot of people just come and walk the dogs, right?
We walk dogs, every dog, every single day, twice. So that's a lot of volunteers we need.
That is a lot of volunteers, right? Because I know I live in a neighborhood where a lot of people have dogs and they're walking them every day. So you got to walk the dogs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you do. This program's about leadership, right? You got two leaders here. How would you guys describe your leadership style? How would you, Lee?
So I think my leadership style is collaborative and high level of communication and pretty transparent. And I would add the word vulnerable, because I came into this job not knowing a lot about animal welfare, but knowing a lot about how to run a nonprofit. And so there's been a lot of learning this last year, and just I have to be able to ask questions and say, I don't know, so I can learn and kind of get past that. But it's really important for me to be able, for me and everybody on the team, to say when they don't know, or they're worried, or they're having a hard day. So.
How many staff do you have, and what's your budget out at the Humane Society?
Yeah, we currently have 64 staff. And I
Wow,
think
that's a big organization.
We have about 5 empty vacant positions, and our operating budget's about $4 million this year. So probably a little bigger than when you were on the board.
Yeah. I mean, the organization's growing. But what always amazed me because I worked for the Boys and Girls Club for 30 years, and it's hard raising money even for kids, right? And when I came on the Kitsap Humane Society, and I remember we had one of our first big events, and you'd go, it was an auction, and people were so enthusiastic. And everybody likes to support animals,
They
right?
really do.
I mean, it's amazing. And when the county has the Great Give every year, right? Well, who's the number one, charity, so to speak, in the Great Give? It's the Kitsap Humane Society.
We're grateful for the community being so supportive.
Absolutely.
And it's true that people love, it's heartwarming, people love animals, but they also see the really amazing work that we do. And I think as we've gotten better and have had such a high save rate or live save rate, people have leaned in and said, yeah, that's a great organization to support. So we thank our community very much.
Yeah. Well, you've done a good job of telling your story, too, I think. Really good job.
Thank you.
Eric, you've been a leader for a long time in lots of different organizations. How would you describe your leadership
Well,
style?
one thing I would add, but I think it's very true of Lee, to what Lee said, is developing a vision of where you're trying to get to. And it's not just my vision or Lee's vision. It's talking to your staff, to your volunteer, to the community, and really understanding what is needed for this organization now and in the future to make it a better place. I think a leader is always forward-thinking, looking about how we want to grow and improve the organization, involving the community in that, and so that there's a shared ownership. And I think that was very true for our veterinary life-saving center. People felt right from the start we need better veterinary facilities. And as we started to talk about these new services to serve more low-income families, that has resonated so much for our community and for our donors. Yeah.
Well, I remember, I think vision is a big part of leadership. And I think it's like, I remember the first time, and I'm not just saying I had that vision, but first time I came out to the Humane Society, which has probably been 15 years ago now, and I looked at the facilities in the little room that your staff is in, and I looked at the other and I said, oh man, we got to have a campaign. This is not going to work. And I think people with vision, leaders who have vision, walk into an environment and they see it the way it is, but they see it the way it ought to be, or the way it could be, right? I mean, I think that's what visionaries do. And sometimes that means creating change, right? And change can be very controversial. And that's why leaders need to be courageous sometimes, because getting out in front is not always the easiest. I had a guy tell me one time, he said, it's okay to get out in front, but you better look back and make sure somebody's following you. Right? So we've got a couple of minutes left. What have I not asked you about the Humane Society you'd like to share with us today?
Foster care.
Yeah, let's talk about foster care. So our goal is to have 50% of the animals coming through our doors land in foster care, because we know that an animal, whether it's a dog, a cat,
foster care is
guinea pig.
What?
So this is when somebody in the community comes and takes in an animal for a short period of time. Sometimes it's a week or two, and sometimes it's months. So they take the animal and it lives in a home environment. And so they get to know the animal. They get to be able to share back with our staff team, hey, turns out he doesn't like cats, or she's really interested in watching TV. And so it helps those animals find their forever home. And animals are at their best selves when they're in someone's home. So our goal is to get more. So we're always looking for foster families. And
is it hard for these foster families to give the animals back up?
Well, so let me tell you.
What percentage of them keep them?
So I have been fostering a little puppy named Mouse for the last 6 weeks. She was about 3 days old, found in a backyard in Bremerton. And everybody said, you're going to keep her. And I was like, no, I'm not. And well, we're keeping her. So I think it's hard for some folks, and for others, it's like that's their job. They really want to do that.
And how many foster volunteers do you have?
So we have about 300 foster volunteer families.
That's
and
amazing.
Honestly, we could use 300 more.
Do they just keep fostering after they give up one? Do they stay in the loop?
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, listen, guys, we're about running out of time here, but I just can't say enough about the role the Humane Society plays in our community. It's really important.
Thank you.
As an animal lover myself, we adopted a cat out at the Humane Society. Our other cat passed away and broke our hearts, and so we finally gave it some time, and then we went and adopted. And the cat sleeps on our bed with us every night.
Of course.
It's just great. So thanks for all you do for the community, and welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you'll love it over here.
I'm loving it so far.
So thank you, and we'll see you next time with another community leader.
Leadership Kitsap is our community's civic leadership program. Leadership Kitsap fosters and empowers educated, prepared, and engaged community leaders. For over 25 years, we have cultivated leaders that work collaboratively to create positive change, dedicated to making our community a better place to work and live. We expose our class to Kitsap's leaders across public, private, and nonprofit sectors. We are happy to bring many of the conversations with these leaders to you. Strong leaders build strong communities.